Well, I guess tomorrow we're going to know, aren't we? Tonight we have two mega panels on Hardgrave, which will help pull apart the campaign. And one of the most tedious campaigns there's ever been. As I said at the outset, with the absence of a very big galvanising issue, the campaign was destined to get nasty, picky, pedantic. And along the way, it certainly has. You know, every glance, every blink, every slip, every nuance has become the issue because there really wasn't an issue. In many ways, it's been this Seinfeld election, an election about nothing at a time when so much is going wrong all around the world. Albo said the election was all about Scott Morrison. Albo, of course, playing the man, not the ball, typical of the Labor Party. And like many Australians, I have had my own concerns from the cheap seats over Scott Morrison too. I was very annoyed when he supported the overreach of the premiers, for instance, over the people during the pandemic. Don't get me started on net zero 2050, heavens above. But most of us have moved on from this. The decision is tomorrow. The Prime Minister may have made some mistakes over the last 3 years, but the big ticket statistics show clearly Australians have a better economic circumstance than any other nation anywhere in the world. A record number of Australians now in work, almost 10 million of us. Unemployment, it's at almost 50-year lows, trending down just 3.9%, heading towards 3.2%. There's a little inflation in the economy, slightly more than was forecast. They forecasted 4.5, we got 5.1. But this has been driven mainly by supply chain factors, worldwide fuel shortages, and of course the impact on fresh food prices that were caused by the floods, the heavy rains on our productive farmlands. But with prudent economic management, each of these factors will be overcome. To mine, the fundamentals of the ever-present risk to our national security and national sovereignty override any temporary pain you're feeling caused by factors outside of our direct control. And I certainly want our country to be economically able to stand strong with certainty and ambition. I want new water, new power, new nation-building infrastructure. I want to trust ambitious entrepreneurs and individuals who want to work hard to achieve for themselves and their families. Not just wait for government to do everything, to ensure government assistance is a safety net and not a hammock. And I want to see us to trust the people by not overtaxing them, over-regulating and over-legislating. My narrative hasn't changed for 5 years on this program. In this campaign, we've seen bumbles and stumbles on a daily basis from the bloke the polls say will be Prime Minister this time tomorrow night, the wannabe, Albo. And this campaign has proved that Albo isn't ready to govern. He's shown on multiple occasions he's way out of his depth. He was off to a dreadful start. So many basic facts not known, interest rates, unemployment rates, you name it. Albo didn't know it, even his own policies. And tonight, he didn't even know what day it was. Thought the election was yesterday, or is it tomorrow? He didn't know. Heavens above. When he caught COVID a few weeks back and took a week off to bond with his designer dog Toto, Albo's polling actually went up. Essentially, the less people saw and heard from him, the more people liked him. And this past week, he's been accused of giving himself the afternoon off every day. He's worn out by it all, this campaigning thing, meeting the people. And just yesterday, he thought Australia's international borders were still closed. My stars, he's already planning a trip overseas. Did he think he'd be so special he'd be able to skive off through the closed borders? But leave no one in charge. I guess he's fixed that up, and we wouldn't notice. He forgot about his duty to the nation. All he wanted was the duty-free leaving the country. You know, it's frightening to think the polls tonight still suggest that Albo will be Prime Minister this time tomorrow night. But the late mail is the risk of Albo has become the big issue of this last week in particular. And for many months now, people have been telling me they couldn't see Albo actually doing the job. I think that's coming back to haunt him. You see, the main job of the Prime Minister is to bring people together, not to tear us apart. Yet in many ways, Albo hasn't outlined a vision for the future, but in fact a revision of Australia's past. Scant details. It's a team of Rudd-Gillard-Rudd-era rejects. Divisive politics and policies such as the Ambassador for First Nations, a roving ambassador for Southeast Asian nations. Take it from me, they're incredibly bad policies. Promising to increase debt and deficit is incredibly irresponsible. Panicked, indecisive, mixed messages regarding media access, walking out on the media when they start to ask the tough questions, being only able to sound competent when the messages are written down and put in front of him. None of this should give you confidence. The inability of Albo now is just embarrassing. It's Labor's problem tonight, but it may well be Australia's problem tomorrow.